I hovered there in the lawyer's office, unseen like a shadow on the wall, watching my family cram into the stuffy room with that hungry gleam in their eyes. The place had that old money feel, dark mahogany panels, a long oak conference table polished to a shine, and rows of leather-bound books lining the shelves that nobody ever touched. My daughter Valeria, 35, and always put together in her sharp blazer and heels, sat at one end, tapping her manicured nails on the table while stealing glances at her phone. She looked impatient, like she had places to be once this was over. My son, Thorn, 38, lounged back in his chair with his arms crossed, his expensive watch catching the light as he whispered to his wife about finally getting what was owed. The relatives filled the rest, cousins, aunts, uncles, all murmuring about the mansion up in the hills, the stocks that had ballooned over the years, and my controlling shares in Whitaker Enterprises that I'd built from a single garage startup. After my wife passed decades ago, they acted like it was already theirs, divvying it up in hushed tones. As Harlan Whitaker, 78 years old, and a widower who'd poured my life into that business, I felt a strange calm wash over me now that I was gone, just observing the fallout I'd set in motion. Welcome to Brian's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below, telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. Mr. Hargrove, my longtime lawyer, sat at the head of the table, his gray suit impeccable as he adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat to get their attention. The room fell quiet, fast, everyone leaning in like vultures spotting a fresh meal. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice even and professional. "We're here to read the last will and testament of Harlan Whitaker." Valeria straightened up, a small smile tugging at her lips as she exchanged a nod with Thorn. "As you know, the estate is valued at approximately $50 million, encompassing the family mansion, all stocks and investments, and controlling interest in Whitaker Enterprises. Oh, the murmurs picked up again, excited now, with one cousin whispering loudly enough for me to hear. Finally, after all this waiting, Hargrove continued without pause. "I, Harlan Whitaker, being of sound mind, hereby bequeath the entirety of my fortune to my dog, Baxter." The words hung in the air for a split second before the explosion hit. Valeria shot to her feet first, her chair scraping back with a screech that echoed off the walls. "What? To the dog? That ridiculous mutt gets everything." Her face twisted in disbelief, turning red as she pointed a finger at Hargrove. "This has to be a joke. Dad wouldn't do this. He couldn't have. We're his family, for God's sake. We deserve that money after putting up with his nonsense for years." Thorn jumped in right after, standing up so fast his chair tipped over with a thud. "Insane. Absolutely insane. 50 million to a damn dog? We've been there through thick and thin, or at least, we've shown up when it mattered." His voice boomed, fists clenched as he paced a step. "Contest it. Right now. Get the papers ready, Hargrove. We'll prove he wasn't in his right mind. All those meds, the isolation. This won't stand." The relatives erupted too, voices overlapping in a chaotic wave. One aunt gasped. "A pet trust? Managed by some animal charity? That's theft from us." A cousin added, "We've waited patiently. Harlan always promising it'd come to family. This is betrayal." Hargrove raised his hands, trying to restore order as the shouting built. "Please, everyone, calm down. The will specifies a pet trust for Baxter's care, with the Loyal Companions Animal Organization as the trustee to manage the funds during his lifetime and for animal welfare afterward. But nobody was listening. Valeria turned to Thorn, her eyes wild. We put up with his moods, his demands, those fake family dinners where he'd lecture us. And for what? So his slobbering dog gets the mansion? I say we sue the charity too. Drag them through court until they fold. Thorn nodded furiously, pulling out his phone. Exactly. I've got a lawyer buddy who specializes in this. We'll claim undue influence, mental incapacity, whatever it takes. That fortune built our lives. We earned it by being his kids. Their spouses chimed in, one saying, "Think about the kids. Our grandkids deserve better than this insult." The room turned into a frenzy, people standing and gesturing, papers rustling as someone demanded to see the full document right then. I watched it all unfold, that ghostly detachment letting me see the truth I'd suspected for years. They'd only visited when they needed cash, Valeria for her boutique that kept failing, Thorn for his investments that never panned out, while Baxter, my faithful golden retriever, had been the one by my side through the chemo. The lonely nights, wagging his tail no matter what. No demands, just loyalty. The relatives piled on now, one uncle bellowing, "We've been family, holidays, birthdays. What did that dog ever contribute? This is madness. We'll overturn it." Another cousin muttered, "He was always eccentric, hoarding everything. Time to fight back." Gee, Valeria grabbed her bag, storming toward Hargrove's desk. "Read it again. There must be a mistake. Or better yet, tell us about any binding terms on litigation. We're not walking away empty-handed." Thorn stepped closer to the lawyer, his face inches away. "You knew about this, didn't you? Helped him draft it? Well, consider yourself part of the suit if you don't cooperate." Hargrove stayed composed, stacking his papers. "I advise against rash actions. The will is clear, and contests can be complicated." But the threats kept coming, Valeria declaring, "We're declaring war on this. That organization won't see a dime once we're done." Thorn agreed. "Gather everyone. We'll meet tonight to plan. This ends with us winning." The chaos peaked, voices blending into a roar as they spilled toward the door, still ranting. I felt a quiet relief settle in, the masks finally slipping off to reveal the greed I'd endured for so long. It hurt, but it also set the stage for what came next, the real story of how it all led to this. The chaos from the will reading still echoed in my mind as I thought back to how it all started. Months earlier, when the first cracks in their facade really showed, I was sitting in my study at the mansion, the one with the big bay windows overlooking the hills, surrounded by stacks of old business files and a half-empty cup of coffee that had gone cold. At 78, my health wasn't what it used to be. Heart issues flaring up more often, leaving me tired and reliant on pills scattered across the desk. Baxter lay at my feet, his head on my slippers, snoring softly like he always did when things got quiet. That's when the doorbell rang, and I knew it was Valeria before I even got up. She had that way of showing up unannounced, always with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She breezed in wearing one of her fancy outfits, a silk blouse and slacks that probably cost more than my monthly groceries, hugging me quickly before plopping down on the couch. "Dad, you look good," she said, glancing around the room like she was appraising it. "The place is holding up. How have you been?" I settled back in my chair, feeling the ache in my chest from the latest doctor's visit she hadn't asked about. "Oh, the usual. Had another checkup last week. Doc says I need to take it easy." She nodded absently, pulling out her phone to show me pictures of her kids. "That's great. Listen, I wanted to talk about something important. The boutiques aren't doing so hot right now. Supply chain issues, you know? I could use a little help to keep things afloat. It's for the grandkids, really. I want them to have stability. I raised an eyebrow, knowing this wasn't the first time. Valeria, I gave you $20,000 just 3 months ago for that expansion. What happened to it? She leaned forward, her voice turning pleading. Dad, that was for inventory, but sales dipped. Come on, you're sitting on all this wealth, the stocks, the business shares. Why not share a bit early? It's family duty, right? Mom would have wanted us taken care of. Baxter stirred at my feet, looking up at me with those trusting eyes. And I patted his head to calm him. It stung, her bringing up my late wife like that, as if I hadn't already given so much over the years. I hear you, but I'm not gone yet. The will's set up fair. You'll get your share when the time comes. She sighed dramatically, crossing her arms. Fair? You've been hoarding it all, Dad. Thorne and I have families to support. What if something happens? We deserve access now. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed on the desk. It was Thorne calling, right on cue, like they'd planned it. I answered, putting him on speaker since Valeria was there. Hey, Dad, Valeria with you. Good. We were just talking about you. His voice was smooth, the kind he used in his sales pitches for whatever scheme he was into that week. Look, I've got this investment opportunity. Real estate flip, that's a sure thing. But I need seed money. You always said family comes first. I leaned back, feeling the pressure build like a vice on my chest. Thorne, son, I've bailed you out before. Remember the last one? Lost half of it. He chuckled, but it sounded forced. That was a fluke. This time's different. Come on, divide some assets now. The mansion alone could fund us all. It's selfish to wait. We're your blood. Valeria jumped in, nodding vigorously. Exactly, Thorne. Dad, your spouses are on board too. Mine says you're being stubborn, holding on to everything like it's a fortress. I could hear Thorne's wife in the background, murmuring agreement. Yeah, Dad, my wife thinks the same. We've got kids' college funds to think about. You wouldn't want us struggling while you sit on $50 million. Baxter whined softly, sensing my tension, and I scratched behind his ears to steady myself. It was building, this sense of them ganging up, ignoring how I'd built Whitaker Enterprises from scratch after losing their mom, pouring everything into it for their future. I appreciate the concern, but I'm managing fine. What about helping out here? The house is big. I could use a hand with chores sometimes. Thorne laughed it off. Dad, we're busy with our lives. That's what hired help is for. Just think about the early inheritance. It's practical. Valeria stood up, pacing a bit as she gestured around the room. See? Thorne gets it. We've been patient, but your health scares, like that hospital stay last month, we called, didn't we? I remembered that stay all too well, alone in the sterile room, machines beeping, while their calls were quick texts asking if I'd updated the will yet. You did, but a visit would have been nice. Baxter was the only one who came, thanks to the nurse bringing him. She rolled her eyes. The dog again? Dad, priorities. We're talking real money here. If you don't loosen up, we might have to get serious. Talk to lawyers about your capacity or something. Thorne chimed in from the phone. She's right. Family duty goes both ways. Don't make us push. Their words hung heavy as Valeria grabbed her coat, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. Think about it, Dad. We love you. But we need this. She headed out, leaving me with the echo of the door closing. Thorne wrapped up the call soon after. Love you too, Dad. Call me when you're ready to transfer. I sat there, staring at the phone, the frustration simmering inside me like a slow boil. They'd ignored my hospital visits entirely, not even asking for details, while Baxter nudged my hand for reassurance. Their spouses whispering in the background only added to it, labeling me selfish for not handing over assets sooner. I could see their entitlement growing. No real worry for my well-being, just eyes on the prize. The mansion, the stocks, the business I'd sacrificed for. As the days turned into weeks, the pressure kept mounting subtly at first. Valeria texted daily, links to articles about smart estate planning, while Thorne emailed spreadsheets showing how splitting shares now would benefit everyone. Their visits became more frequent but shorter, always steering back to money. One afternoon, Valeria showed up with her husband in tow, him hanging back but nodding along. "Dad, he's right. You're not getting younger. Why risk it all on one will?" I tried to steer the conversation. "How about we talk about something else? My latest doctor's report?" But she brushed it off. "We'll catch up on that later. Focus on the inheritance. It's for the kids." Thorne dropped by later that week, his wife tagging along, whispering to him about my stubbornness. "Dad, don't be selfish. We've earned this after years of being your kids." It built frustration in me, watching their greed peek through. No concern for the isolation I felt in that big house, alone except for Baxter's company. They'd claim it was for family, but it was clear, the lavish lifestyles, the failed ventures, they saw me as a wallet, not a father fading away. The demands from Valeria and Thorne didn't let up after those initial talks. If anything, they ramped up, turning into something more organized and aggressive that really pushed me over the edge. It was about a month after Valeria's visit and Thorne's call, right when I was dealing with another health scare, a bad episode where my heart raced out of control, landing me in the hospital for a couple of days. I was back home now, resting in the living room with Baxter curled up on the rug beside my recliner, his steady breathing the only calm thing in the house. The mansion felt emptier than ever, the high ceilings and polished floors echoing every little sound, reminding me how alone I'd been since my wife passed. That's when the doorbell rang again, and I saw through the window it was both of them this time, with their spouses trailing behind and some stranger in a suit lugging a briefcase. I opened the door, feeling weak but trying to stand tall. "What's this all about? You didn't call ahead." Valeria stepped in first, her face set in that determined look she got when she wanted something bad. "Dad, we need to talk seriously now. No more dancing around it." "Shh," Thorne followed, clapping me on the shoulder a bit too hard, his smile forced. "Yeah, Pop, we've been worried about you, especially after that last hospital stint. We figured it's time for an intervention." Their spouses nodded along, Valeria's husband hanging back with a sympathetic grin that didn't fool me, and Thorne's wife crossing her arms like she was ready for a fight. The stranger introduced himself as Mr. Ellis, a lawyer friend of Thorne's, shaking my hand firmly. "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Whitaker. I'm here to help sort things out." I led them to the sitting area, lowering myself into the chair carefully while Baxter eyed them all suspiciously. "Intervention? What, like I'm some addict? This about the money again?" Thorne sat down across from me, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "Come on, Dad. It's not like that. We're family, and we're concerned. You've been hoarding all this wealth, the stocks, the business shares, the mansion. It's unfair to keep it locked up when we could use some now." Valeria jumped in, sitting next to him. "Exactly. Look at you, another health scare, and you're here alone. What if something worse happens? We deserve to know the will's set right, and maybe get an early distribution to help our families." I felt my pulse quicken, the monitor on my wrist beeping a warning. "I've told you, the will's fair. I built Whitaker Enterprises for you kids eventually, but I'm still here. Why the rush? Mr. Ellis opened his briefcase, pulling out some papers. Mr. Whitaker, your children asked me to draft a revised will. It's straightforward, divides assets more evenly now, avoids probate headaches later. Valeria's husband piped up from the side. It's for everyone's good, Harlan. You've got 50 million sitting there doing nothing while Valeria's business struggles. Thorne's wife added, and our kids need security. You're being selfish, holding on to it all like a dragon on gold. I looked at them, the room spinning a bit from the stress. Selfish? I've given you loans, paid for schools, bailed out failures. What about helping me? No visits during the hospital stay, just texts about the estate. Oh, Thorne waved that off. Dad, we're busy. That's why we're here now. Sign this and we can all move on. Refuse and, well, we might have to cut ties. No more calls, no holidays. It's too toxic otherwise. Valeria nodded, her eyes hard. He's right. You're a stubborn old fool, Dad, hoarding wealth unfairly. Mom would have hated this. Rewrite the will, or we're done. I clutched the armrest, Baxter whining and nudging my leg as if he sensed the tension. Cut ties over money. You see me as a bank, not your father. Mr. Ellis slid the papers across the coffee table. It's simple, sir. This new draft gives them each a third now. You keep control, but with stipulations. Sign here. Thorne pressed. Do it, Dad, or we'll question your capacity. Get doctors involved. Maybe a court order. That last scare proves you're not thinking straight. Valeria leaned in. We don't want that, but we will if you force us. Think of the grandkids. They need this legacy now, not after you're gone. Their spouses murmured agreement. Valeria's husband saying, It's practical, Harlan. Don't make it a war. Thorne's wife added, Yeah, stop being so greedy. We've put up with enough. The brazenness hit me like a slap. Their words exposing a complete lack of empathy as they pressured me right after my health scare. No remorse for the stress piling on. I stared at the papers, my hands shaking. This is low, even for you, bringing a shady lawyer to bully an old man. Mr. Ellis frowned. I'm legitimate, Mr. Whitaker. This protects everyone. Thorne stood up, pacing. Sign it or we're walking. No more family. You'll die alone with that dog. Baxter growled low, standing between us. Valeria scoffed. See? Even the mutt's more important. Pathetic. Just do what's right. I pushed the papers back. Get out, all of you. This shows your true colors. Thorne grabbed the documents, stuffing them in the briefcase. Fine, but this isn't over. We'll be back with real leverage. They filed out, Valeria pausing at the door. You're making a mistake, Dad. We love you, but love has limits, Thorne added over his shoulder. Think hard. Next time, it won't be friendly. The door slammed, leaving me breathless. The room quiet, except for my ragged breathing and Baxter's comforting presence. Their insults echoed. Stubborn old fool. Greedy. Hoarding, solidifying my disgust as I realized they viewed me only as a source of cash, not the father who'd sacrificed everything. I reached for my phone, considering calling my own lawyer, but the exhaustion hit hard. Instead, I patted Baxter. At least you're here, boy. They don't get it. The pressure had escalated to threats, no care for how it affected my health, just pure selfishness on display. As the evening wore on, I couldn't shake it, their brazen act during my vulnerable time, showing no shame. I got up slowly, heading to the kitchen for water, Baxter trailing me. The house felt colder now, their words replaying like a bad recording. They threatened to cut me off, boy, I said to Baxter, who tilted his head. Over a will. That's not family. I sat at the table, staring at old photos of us all happier, before the greed took over. My chest tightened again, but I breathed through it. Their intervention wasn't about concern, it was a power play, bringing that lawyer to force my hand. I knew I had to do something, but right then, the hurt was too fresh. The weeks after that intervention dragged on like a bad dream, my health taking a nosedive that left me feeling more trapped than ever. I was back in the hospital again, this time for a severe episode where my heart gave out during a routine walk with Baxter, the world blurring as I collapsed on the driveway. The nurses hooked me up to monitors in that sterile room, beeps filling the air while I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more I could take. Baxter couldn't visit this time. Hospital rules, but a kind nurse promised to check on him at home. My phone sat on the bedside table, silent at first, then buzzing with texts from Valeria and Thorne that weren't about my condition at all. The first message came from Valeria around noon, her words popping up on the screen as I adjusted the IV in my arm. "Dad, hope you're okay, but have you thought about the will? We need to finalize things soon." I read it twice, the frustration building in my chest like pressure from the monitors. "No? How are you feeling?" Or, "Do you need anything?" Just straight to the money. I texted back weakly. "In hospital, heart acting up again." Her reply came quick. "Oh no, that's awful. But seriously, about the estate, the mansion, and stocks. Can we discuss when you're out?" Thorne's voicemail followed an hour later, his voice tinny through the speaker as I played it. "Hey, Dad, heard about the hospital. Tough break. Listen, I've been crunching numbers on Whitaker Enterprises. We should talk early inheritance to avoid taxes. Call me." I set the phone down, feeling the isolation sink in deeper, like the walls were closing around me. The doctor came in then, a young guy with a clipboard checking my vitals. "Mr. Whitaker, your family's been notified. Anyone coming by?" I shook my head. "Doubt it. They're busy." He nodded sympathetically. "Rest up. We'll monitor overnight." As he left, another text from Valeria lit up the screen. "Dad, ignoring us? We deserve updates on the will, after all we've done." I didn't respond, but the oppression felt heavier, their demands piling on even as I fought for breath. Extended family started chiming in too. A cousin's email popped up on my laptop that the nurse brought in. "Harlan, sorry about the health stuff, but rumors say you're changing the will? We should talk shares, family first." Thorne called that evening, his voice urgent when I finally answered. "Dad, you there? Hospital again? Man, you need to take better care." I coughed, propping myself up on the pillows. "Yeah, Thorne, it's bad this time. Could use some company." He paused. "Wish I could, but work's slamming me. Hey, while I've got you, that draft from Ellis, sign it digitally. I can send a link." The nerve hit me hard, my voice sharpening. "I'm hooked to machines, son. Not the time." He sighed. "Come on, Dad. It's for security." Valeria agrees. "We're worried about mental slips with all the meds." Valeria texted right then, as if coordinated. "Thorne's right. Rumors you're unstable. We might need to step in legally for your own good." I hung up, the phone slipping from my hand as anger mixed with exhaustion. They were spreading rumors now, to relatives, probably friends, about my mental instability, building a case like I was some senile old man. A nurse came in to adjust the drip. "Everything okay, Mr. Whitaker? You look upset." I forced a smile. "Family drama. They think I'm losing it." She patted my arm. "Hang in there. Want me to call anyone?" I shook my head. "No point. They'd just ask about money." Later that night, an email from Thorne arrived with attachments, bank records he'd somehow gotten, highlighting loans I'd given them. See this? We've repaid in ways, time, visits. But if you don't update the will, we'll contest on grounds of incapacity. The next day, as I waited for discharge papers, Valeria's husband called, his tone slick. "Harlan, Valeria's worried sick, but about the assets, 50 million's a lot. Share now to avoid fights later." I gripped the phone. "Worried? She hasn't visited." He chuckled. "She's swamped. Sign the papers, make it easy." Thorne's wife texted soon after. "Harlan, think of the grandkids. Don't let instability ruin their future." It intensified the isolation, even extended family siding with them for potential scraps. Emails pouring in like, "We hear you're not well mentally. Let us help manage the business." I'm trapped in that hospital bed, oppressed by their endless demands via every device. I hit an emotional low, tears stinging as I whispered to myself, "Will I die like this, alone?" Baxter's visits weren't possible, but the nurse arranged a video call with my housekeeper, showing him wagging his tail at the camera. "He's missing you, Mr. Whitaker." That brought a spark of warmth, reminding me of his true loyalty amid the greed. But then Thorne texted again. "Dad, out yet? Need to discuss the will ASAP. Rumors are flying, better cooperate." Valeria followed with a voicemail. "Dad, we're building a case if needed. Don't force our hand. Love you." Their ongoing pressure, no visits, just questions about the estate, left me feeling utterly abandoned, like I was drowning in their selfishness. Discharged finally, I got home to the empty mansion, Baxter bounding up with joyful barks that eased the ache a bit. But the texts kept coming. "Valeria, home safe? Good. About the stocks, Thorne. Dad, let's meet with lawyers. Your health proves we need control." Even at rock bottom, they oppressed me, spreading more rumors that reached my old business partners. One calling to say, "Harlan, heard the kids are concerned about your mind. Anything I can do?" I hung up, collapsing into the chair, Baxter at my feet. "They're winning, boy, painting me crazy to grab everything." The web of greed tightened, isolation peaking as I wondered if peace was even possible before the end. I lay there in my bed that night after getting home from the hospital. The mansion quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and Baxter's soft snores from his spot. On the floor, my body felt heavy, like the weight of all those texts and voicemails had pinned me down. But something shifted inside me as I stared at the ceiling. The rumors they'd spread, the demands during my weakest moments, it all clicked into place. I couldn't let their greed swallow everything I'd built. Whitaker Enterprises, the stocks, the mansion, they saw it as their jackpot. But it was my legacy, earned through years of hard work after losing my wife. I sat up slowly, ignoring the ache in my chest, and reached for my phone. "Enough," I muttered to myself. Baxter lifted his head, watching me with those loyal eyes that never judged. The next morning, I called Mr. Hargrove, my trusted lawyer who'd handled my affairs for decades. I kept my voice low as I paced the kitchen, Baxter following me around. "Hargrove, it's Harlan. I need to see you discreetly. No office visit. Come here." He paused on the line. "Mr. Whitaker, everything all right? You sound urgent." I glanced out the window, half expecting Valeria or Thorne to show up unannounced. Not really. My kids are pushing too hard on the will. I want revisions, major ones. He agreed quickly. "I'll be there in an hour. Bring any documents?" I nodded to myself. "Yeah, and keep this quiet. They're spreading rumors about my mind slipping." Hargrove's tone sharpened. "Understood. We'll protect you." When he arrived, I let him in through the side door to avoid nosy neighbors. leading him to my study where papers cluttered the desk. Baxter greeted him with a wag, settling by my chair as we sat down. "So, what's going on, Harlan?" Hargrove asked, opening his notebook. I leaned forward, my hands steady for the first time in weeks. "Valeria and Thorne, they're after everything now. Texts about the estate while I'm in the hospital. Threats of capacity challenges. I won't let them win." He nodded, pulling out my current will. "We can revise it. What changes?" I took a breath. "Leave it all to Baxter via a pet trust. The Loyal Companions Animal Organization as trustee. Make it ironclad. State laws allow it." Hargrove raised an eyebrow. "To the dog? That's bold, but legal. Why?" I patted Baxter's head. "He's been my only real companion. They ignore me unless it's money time." We spent the next hour hashing it out, me channeling the pain of their neglect into every detail. "Add clauses. If they contest, they lose even small bequests," I said. Hargrove jotted notes. 10,000 each as consolation, void on challenge. I agreed. "Perfect. And I need to start documenting their crap, emails, calls, rumors." He slid me a recorder device. "Use this for calls. Save everything digitally. Builds your case if they push." I felt a surge of strength, like the fog was lifting. This turns the tide. They've worn me down, but no more. Hargrove packed up. "I'll draft it secretly. Sign soon, your health." I cut him off. "I know. Thanks for coming quiet." He left, and I sat there, the plan forming like a shield against their entitlement. That afternoon, I started gathering bits, saving Valeria's texts from the hospital, Thorne's voicemails demanding shares. I recorded a test call to myself, my voice firm. "This is for proof," I said into the device. Baxter watched, tilting his head. "We're fighting back, boy. Your care comes first." The decision fueled me, turning heartbreak into resolve. I emailed Hargrove some bank statements showing unpaid loans to the kids. "Attach these," I wrote. He replied quick. "Good start. Strengthens soundness of mind." "Oka," I smiled for the first time in days, prioritizing Baxter over their greed. Meanwhile, I knew they were gloating. Valeria called Thorne that evening, and I overheard bits when I accidentally butt-dialed her, pretending the line was dead. "He's weakening, Thorne," she said, her voice smug through the speaker. "Those hospital texts? He'll cave soon." Thorne laughed. "Absolutely. Rumors are working. Relatives think he's nuts. We'll control Whitaker Enterprises by month's end." She, Valeria's husband, chimed in the background. "Dinner tonight to celebrate. He's worn down." Thorne agreed. "Yeah, pop the champagne. Dad's too sick to fight. The mansion's ours." I hung up quietly, my blood boiling but my resolve hardening. They believed they'd won, heightening my drive to flip it all. I kept at it the next day, documenting more, printing emails where Thorne begged for cash, noting dates they skipped hospital visits. Baxter stayed close, like he knew we were in this together. "They think I'm done, boy," I whispered to him while filing papers. A friend called later, one who'd heard the rumors. "Harlan, you okay? Kids saying you're unstable." I kept calm. "Don't believe it. I'm sharper than ever." He offered help. "Need anything?" I thought quick. "Actually, yeah, witness my new will if needed." He agreed. "Sure, buddy. Sounds serious." It built my strength, the plan protecting my legacy from their claws. By evening, I felt awakened, no longer the victim. I called Hargrove again. "Draft ready soon?" he confirmed. "Tomorrow. You're turning this around." I nodded to myself. Damn right, they gloat now, but wait. Valeria texted then, all fake concern. "Dad, feeling better? Let's talk inheritance over dinner." I replied vaguely. "Maybe later." She pushed. Come on, we deserve it after worrying. Thorne followed up. Yeah, Dad. We're family, share the wealth. Their triumph rang hollow, only fueling me more. I saved those texts too, adding to the pile. Baxter nudged my leg, and I scratched his ears. We'll prioritize you, boy, over their entitlement. The pain channeled into action, my resolve set to turn the tables hard. I woke up the next morning with a clear head for the first time in weeks. The plan from Hargrove giving me purpose as I headed to my study. Baxter trotting behind me like he knew we were on a mission. The room was cluttered with old files and my computer humming on the desk, and I sat down, pulling up my email inbox where all those demanding messages from Valeria and Thorne sat like digital bombs. I started printing them out one by one, the printer whirring as I highlighted sections where they begged for money without asking about my health. This is gold, boy, I said to Baxter, who sat at my feet watching. Then I grabbed the recorder Hargrove gave me and tested it again, speaking into it quietly. Note for the record, Valeria's text from hospital day, demanding will updates. My phone buzzed right then. It was Thorne calling, and I let it ring twice before answering, hitting record on the device. Dad, you up? We need to talk about those shares in Whitaker Enterprises. His voice was pushy, like always. I kept calm. Thorne, I'm still recovering. What's so urgent? He jumped right in. Come on, the stocks are soaring. Give us early access. It's family duty. Valeria and I are struggling here. I paused, letting him talk. Struggling? I loaned you $50,000 last year, never saw a dime back. He laughed it off. That's old news. We're talking millions now. Don't be selfish. Mom would have wanted this. Baxter whined softly, and I patted him to stay quiet. I'll think about it, I said, ending the call and stopping the recorder. That voicemail would show his manipulation clear as day. Next, I dug into my bank statements, pulling folders from the drawer where I'd kept records of every transfer to them over the years. Pages of loans, $20,000 to Valeria for her boutique, $30,000 to Thorne for his sure thing investment, all unpaid, with dates matching their absent visits during my illnesses. I scanned them into the computer, organizing files labeled evidence, feeling the power shift a bit already. A knock at the door startled me. It was my old friend Marcus, the one I'd mentioned witnessing the will. I let him in, leading him to the study. Harlan, you look better, he said, shaking my hand. What's this about? I showed him the stack of papers. Kids are pressuring me hard. Need your help with footage from the home cameras. Marcus nodded, pulling out his laptop since he helped set up the security system years ago. Sure, buddy, let's pull the logs. We accessed the cloud storage, scrolling through dates. There, footage from last month's visit, where Valeria showed up, barely staying 10 minutes, dismissing my health complaints. See that? I pointed as the video played, her saying on camera, Dad, stop complaining about the heart stuff. Just sign over some assets. Thorne's clip from weeks earlier showed him yelling, You're hoarding everything. We deserve it now. Marcus whistled. That's damning. Send me copies. I'll back you up as a witness. I emailed him the files. Thanks, Marcus. Nurses, too. They can statement about no family visits during hospital stays. We spent the afternoon compiling more witness statements from the nurses, one emailing back quick. Mr. Whitaker, happy to confirm. No visitors during your last 3 stays. Only calls about financial matters. I printed that too, adding to the growing folder. Baxter paced around, excited by the activity. We're building a case, boy, I told him. The evidence piled up, from bank transfers to recorded demands, slowly shifting the balance as I prepared the new will with Hargrove. I called him later. Got bank statements, voicemails, footage, nurses' notes incoming? Hargrove sounded pleased. Excellent. Ensures it's ironclad under state laws, proves your decisions are sound, counters any incapacity claims. As evening hit, I kept at it quietly, avoiding any family contact to keep them in the dark. Valeria texted then. Dad, dinner soon? We can discuss the mansion. I saved it without replying, adding to the evidence log. Thorne emailed a spreadsheet of family expenses, demanding reimbursement. See, we've earned shares. I forwarded it to Hargrove. More proof, I wrote. Marcus stuck around, helping organize. Harlan, this shows years of neglect. Courts will see it. I nodded. Yeah, and the pet trust for Baxter? It'll hold up with this. He grinned. Smart move. That dog's been better to you than them. By night, the folder was thick, proof of manipulation stacked high, including those unpaid loans and dismissive visits on camera. I felt the power tipping my way, the new will almost ready to withstand any contest. We're almost there, I whispered to Baxter, who curled up content. The balance was shifting, my legacy safe from their grasp. The evidence folder felt solid in my hands that next morning, all those printed emails, recorded calls and nurse statements stacked neatly in my study drawer, giving me the confidence to take the next step without them suspecting a thing. I called Hargrove early, before Valeria or Thorne could drop another demanding text, and told him to come over right away with the final draft of the will. Baxter sat by the window, watching the driveway like a guard dog, his ears perking up when the lawyer's car pulled in quietly through the back gate to avoid any prying eyes from the neighbors. I let Hargrove in, leading him straight to the desk where I'd laid out a few more items, those bank statements showing the unpaid loans. This is it, I said, my voice steady. Let's execute the new will today, in secret. Hargrove nodded, spreading out the papers on the table, his pen ready as he went over the key points one last time. All right, Harlan. The pet trust for Baxter is set. Everything goes to him. Managed by the Loyal Companions Animal Organization as trustee. The estate's full value, about $50 million, including the mansion, stocks, and controlling shares in Whitaker Enterprises. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a quiet thrill run through me. And the stipulations? He pointed to the clause. Any contest voids the small bequests, 10,000 each to Valeria and Thorne. Contingent on no challenges. It's ironclad, with your medical records attached to prove soundness of mind. Baxter nudged my leg as if approving, and I scratched his head. Perfect. Only you know about this, no one else. Hargrove agreed. I'll file it discreetly. No leaks. We went through the signing process, step by step, me initialing each page with a firm hand, the weight of years of neglect fueling every stroke. This leaves everything to Baxter, I confirmed as I signed the final line. Hargrove witnessed it, adding his notary stamp. Done. It's official now. I felt the shift inside, like I'd just armed myself for the fight ahead. But I kept it hidden. No celebrations, just a nod. Keep it locked away until the time comes. He packed up the originals, handing me a copy for my safe. You got it. Call if they ramp up. As he left, I locked the door behind him, turning to Baxter. Our secret, boy. They think they're winning, but this changes everything. That afternoon, Valeria called, her timing almost suspicious, like she sensed something brewing. I answered casually, sitting on the porch with Baxter at my feet, the sun warming the hills around the mansion. Dad, you sound better, she started, her voice sweet but probing. Thorne and I were thinking of coming over tomorrow, talk about family stuff. I smiled to myself, deciding to drop a subtle hint to test the waters. Sure, but I've been thinking about charities lately. You know, Animal ones, like loyal companions, might donate some things. She paused, then laughed it off. Charities? Dad, come on. That's for after you're gone. We need to focus on us now, the stocks, the business. Don't get soft on us. I kept it light. Just saying pets have been good to me, Baxter especially. She dismissed it arrogantly. The dog? Please, we're your kids. Anyway, see you tomorrow. Thorne texted soon after, probably tipped off by her. Heard you're into charities now? Funny. Let's discuss real assets instead, I replied vaguely. Yeah, animal charities feel right. Talk soon. He shot back quick. Whatever, Dad. Don't do anything stupid like giving to them. We deserve the fortune. Their unease peeked through, but they brushed it off with that smug arrogance. Like I was just an old man rambling. It created this underlying tension in me, watching them continue their schemes, without a clue that I'd already struck back quietly. I saved those texts too, adding them to the evidence pile in the drawer. The next day, they showed up together, Valeria in her usual designer clothes, Thorne with that confident stride, their spouses tagging along like backups. We sat in the living room, Baxter eyeing them from his bed in the corner. So, Dad, Thorne started, leaning forward on the couch. About those charities, you serious? I shrugged, sipping my coffee. Why not? Loyal Companions does good work for animals. Might leave them something. Valeria rolled her eyes, crossing her legs. Dad, stop joking. We've got real plans, the mansion for vacations, stocks for investments. Charities? That's throwing money away. Her husband nodded. Yeah, Harlan, family first. Don't let sentiment cloud judgment. Thorne's wife added, Exactly. Baxter's just a pet. We built this family. I watched their reactions, the subtle shift in their postures, like the hint made them uneasy, but not enough to suspect the full blow. Pets are loyal, I said mildly. Unlike some. Thorne laughed it off. Loyal? Come on, Dad. We're here now, aren't we? Let's talk dividing shares early. Avoid taxes. Valeria jumped in. Yes, and forget charities. We need that money for our kids. They dismissed it arrogantly again, steering back to their demands. But I could see the tension building under their smiles. I'll think about it, I replied, keeping the secret hidden. They left after an hour, still scheming in whispers as they walked to their cars. He's bluffing, I heard Thorne say to Valeria. Charities? No way he'd cut us out. Alone again. I went back to the study, pulling out the will copy and reading it over, the quiet move solidifying in my mind. Baxter curled up nearby, oblivious but central to it all. They continue their games, I muttered to him, but this pet trust voids everything if they fight. Isha, the suspense built in me, knowing the reveal would hit hard, but for now, I watched from the shadows, letting their arrogance fuel the trap. Marcus called later, checking in. How's the evidence holding? I told him about the signing. Wills executed, secret. Dropped hints about charities. They got uneasy, but dismissed it. He chuckled. Smart, keeps them off guard. I agreed. Yeah, builds tension. They're still pushing demands. We hung up, and I added the latest texts to the folder, the balance shifting more with every quiet step. By evening, Thorne emailed again, attaching a family plan for the estate. Ignore charities, Dad. Sign this instead. I saved it without responding, the underlying strain growing as I pictured their faces at the reading. Valeria called one more time. Dad, about tomorrow. No more charity talk, okay? We're serious about the will. I hinted again. Animal groups need support too. She huffed. Arrogant old man, we'll see. Her dismissal only heightened my resolve, the secret counterblow creating suspense for what came next. My health was slipping faster now, the doctor's visits turning into weekly routines with more pills and warnings about taking it easy. But I knew time was short, so I decided to set the stage for the big reveal by hinting at the changes during what I figured would be our final family gathering. I called Valeria and Thorne that morning, my voice weaker than usual, as I sat in the living room with Baxter at my feet, the mansion's big windows letting in the afternoon light that made everything feel a bit too bright. "Come over tonight," I told Valeria first. "Family dinner one last time before things get worse." She hesitated on the line. "Dad, you okay? Sounds serious." I kept it vague. "Just come. Bring everyone, spouses, relatives, if you want," Thorne called back right after, probably tipped off by her. "What's this about, Dad? Another lecture?" I coughed into the phone. "No, son, just dinner. Be here at 7. They showed up on time for once, Valeria with her husband in tow, dressed like they were going to a business meeting, and Thorne with his wife, all smiles as they filed into the dining room where I'd had the housekeeper set the table with the good china. The relatives trickled in too, a couple of cousins, an uncle, murmuring about traffic as they took seats around the long oak table loaded with roast beef, potatoes, and wine I'd picked out. Baxter wandered in, sniffing around before settling under my chair at the head. "Nice spread, Dad," Thorne said, pouring himself a glass. "What's the occasion?" I waited until everyone was seated, my hands folded on the table to hide the slight shake. "My health's not good. Doctors say it could be months, maybe less." Gasps went around, but Valeria leaned in quick. "Oh, Dad, that's awful. Have you updated the will? We can help with that." I nodded slowly, pulling out a small stack of papers from the folder beside my plate. The snippets of evidence I'd prepared, like those unpaid loan records and printouts of their demanding texts. "Actually, I have been thinking about changes." Thorne's eyes lit up. "Good. We've been saying divide the stocks now, the business shares. Makes sense." His wife nodded. "Yeah, Harlan, for the kids' sake." "Yeah," I slid the first paper across the table, the bank statement showing the loans. "Before that, let's talk about these. Years of money I gave you, never repaid." Valeria snatched it up, her face flushing. "Dad, that's old stuff. We were going to pay back. Why bring this up now?" The relatives shifted uncomfortably, one cousin whispering to another. "What's going on?" Thorne grabbed the paper from her, scanning it fast. "Come on, this is nitpicking. We've been family, visits, calls. That covers it." I shook my head, pulling out another sheet, the printout of texts from my hospital stay. "Visits? Like when I was in the hospital? And you texted about the will instead of coming?" I read one aloud, my voice steady despite the cough building in my throat. "Dad, hope you're okay, but have you thought about the estate?" "That's you, Valeria." She stood up halfway, her chair scraping back. "That's taken out of context. I was worried about the future." Her husband put a hand on her arm. "Harlan, easy. No need to drag this out." But I kept going, sliding over the voicemail transcript from Thorne. "And you, son, heard about the hospital. Let's talk inheritance. No visit, just demands." The room got tense, relatives murmuring louder now as Thorne's face turned red. "Dad, you're twisting things. We've put up with your moods for years, deserve something for that." One cousin spoke up. "Harlan, this seems harsh. They're your kids." I looked around the table, feeling the initial satisfaction build as their facades started cracking. Harsh? They've ignored my illnesses, spread rumors about my mental state to build a case against me. Valeria slammed her hand down. "Rumors? We were concerned. You're unstable, hoarding 50 million while we struggle. Oh, Thorne jumped in defensively. Exactly. The mansion, Whitaker Enterprises, we built that legacy too. Stop acting like we're the villains. I pulled out the security footage printouts next, stills from the home cameras showing their short, dismissive visits. Look at this, Valeria. You stayed 10 minutes last time, complaining about my complaints instead of helping. She snatched the photo, tearing it slightly. Spying on us? That's low, Dad. Her husband stood now. This is an ambush. We're leaving. But the uncle held up a hand. Wait, let's hear him out. I leaned back, coughing hard but pushing through. Years of ingratitude, fake concern, only for money. Baxter here's been more family than you. Thorne laughed bitterly. The dog again? You're delusional. We'll contest whatever changes you made. Valeria nodded furiously. Absolutely. This proves you're not right in the head, bringing this up at dinner. The confrontation heated up, their defensive arguments exposing it all publicly as relatives watched, some nodding in shock. I thought you visited more, one cousin said to Thorne. Sounds like neglect. Thorne turned on her. Mind your business. Dad's exaggerating. But I had one more snippet, a nurse's statement about no visitors during my stays. Read this. Nurses confirm you never showed. Valeria tried to downplay it, her voice rising. We called. Work kept us away. Her husband added. Yeah, and loans? Those were gifts, not debts. The room erupted into arguments, relatives questioning them now. If it's true, that's awful, the uncle said. Harlan's alone here. I watched their facades crack further, Thorne pacing and yelling. This is bullshit. We're taking legal action, capacity hearing. Valeria pointed at me. You're trying to guilt us after hoarding everything? But the exposure brought me that initial satisfaction, seeing the relatives side-eye them, the years of ingratitude laid bare among family. You've treated me like an ATM, I said calmly. No real care. One cousin stood. Harlan, if this is accurate, I'm sorry. We didn't know. Thorne snapped at her. Stay out. This is between us. The arguments peaked, voices overlapping as they tried to rally support, but lost ground. As the night wore on, they stormed out one by one, Valeria last, glaring back. You'll regret this, Dad. We're not done. Thorne added from the door. Expect calls from our lawyer. Ellis will handle it. The relatives lingered a bit, offering awkward sympathies. Take care, Harlan, the uncle said. If you need witnesses, I nodded. Maybe? Alone with Baxter, I cleared the table slowly, the satisfaction lingering despite the exhaustion. We exposed some truth tonight, boy, I told him, his tail wagging. It set up the full reckoning at the will reading, their cracks showing publicly now. The days after that explosive family dinner felt like they were slipping away from me faster than I could hold on, my health deteriorating with every breath. The doctor telling me over the phone that morning it was down to weeks at best. So I knew I had to wrap everything up tight before it was too late. I sat in my study, the afternoon light filtering through the curtains. Baxter curled up at my feet as I organized the final dossier on my desk. The thick stack of texts and emails from Valeria and Thorne demanding money during my hospital stays. The recorded calls where they guilt-tripped me without a shred of concern. Bank statements detailing those unpaid loans totaling hundreds of thousands. Printouts of security footage capturing their brief, dismissive visits. And the nurse's sworn affidavit that Hargrove had guided her to sign under oath, confirming their complete absence during my illnesses. I made copies of it all, sealing the originals in an envelope labeled Evidence Packet. Son emailed digital backups to Hargrove with a note. "Store this in the firm vault. It's everything we need." He replied quick, "Received and secured. Strong defense material." Baxter lifted his head, sensing my tension, and I patted him gently. "This protects you, boy," I whispered, feeling a mix of exhaustion and quiet determination wash over me. With the dossier finalized, I set up my old camcorder on the tripod facing my chair, adjusting the angle so it captured my gaunt face and the study behind me. Bookshelves filled with years of business ledgers from Whitaker Enterprises. I hit record, clearing my throat as the red light blinked on. "If you're watching this, it's after my will's been read, and I imagine Valeria and Thorne are furious," I started, my voice steady but laced with the pain of betrayal. "You've neglected me for years, only coming around when you needed cash for your failed ventures or lavish lives, ignoring my hospital visits while I battled illness alone. You've spread rumors about my mental state to grab the $50 million, the mansion, the stocks, the controlling shares in Whitaker Enterprises that I built from nothing after your mother died. But Baxter here, he's been my only loyal companion, by my side through it all without asking for a thing. That's why everything goes to him via the Pet Trust, managed by the Loyal Companions Animal Organization as trustee." I paused, coughing into my fist, then continued. "This isn't spite, it's justice for the greed that's torn us apart. The evidence backs it up." I stopped the recording after about 2 minutes, saving the file and attaching it to another email to Hargrove. "Add this video to the packet," I wrote. "It explains my reasons clear." Just as I hit send, the doorbell rang insistently, and I knew it was them before I even checked the camera. Valeria and Thorne, with their spouses and that shady lawyer Ellis in tow, all piling into the entryway when I opened the door, their faces set in determination like they were ready for war. Valeria stormed in first, her husband right behind her, pointing at me as she spoke. "Dad, we've had enough of your games. That dinner stunt with the texts and loans? You're clearly not right, and we're here to fix it." Thorne nodded, stepping closer with his wife hanging on his arm. "Yeah, Pop. Ellis has the papers ready for a competency hearing. We'll prove you're unfit with all those health issues and rumors flying." Ellis opened his briefcase on the coffee table, pulling out forms as we moved to the living room. "Mr. Whitaker, this is for your protection. Sign here to grant temporary guardianship to your children. They'll manage your accounts and Whitaker Enterprises until a judge rules." Baxter growled low from under my chair where I'd sat down, his presence grounding me as my chest tightened. I looked at the papers but didn't touch them, shaking my head slowly. "Guardianship? So you can freeze my accounts and seize the business? That's not concern. That's a grab." Valeria leaned in, her voice rising. "Concern? You've been hoarding everything while we struggle. The mansion alone could set us up. Sign, or we'll push the hearing tomorrow. Drag in doctors to testify on your instability." Her husband added, "Harlan, it's practical. Don't make us force it." Thorne jumped in, pacing the room. "Exactly. We've got witnesses, relatives from dinner who saw your outburst. We'll argue you're a risk to yourself, get the court to hand over control." His wife nodded. "And the $50 million? It belongs to family, not wasted on delusions." Ellis slid the forms closer. "Mr. Whitaker, resisting only makes it worse. We can file for emergency freezing of assets today if needed." Baxter nudged my leg, his warmth reminding me of why I was fighting, and I felt the pain in my heart but pushed back. "Do your worst. I've documented your neglect, those unpaid loans, the absent visits. It's all protected with my lawyer." Valeria snatched the forms from Ellis, waving them at me. "Documented? We'll counter that in court, say the meds clouded your judgment. Guardianship means we decide everything now." Thorne stopped pacing, his face red. "Dad, last chance. Sign, or we escalate. Full hearing, public embarrassment. Seize the enterprise before you do something stupid like those charity hints." Ellis chimed in smoothly. "It's in your best interest. Refuse, and we'll petition immediately." I held firm, my voice calm despite the fatigue. "I've already shared more proof with an independent estate litigator for review, nurse affidavits, footage, all of it." There was a flicker of doubt in Thorne's eyes. "Litigator? Who?" I didn't name him, just said, "Someone neutral, invited by Hargrove. They've seen the evidence." Valeria huffed. "Bluffing again. We'll discredit whoever it is, our side's stronger." Her husband agreed. "Yeah, Harlan, don't drag this out." My phone buzzed then. It was the independent estate litigator Hargrove had brought in, a sharp probate expert named Ms. Langford, calling as we'd arranged. I answered on speaker, keeping it casual. "Mr. Whitaker, I've reviewed the packet you sent. The documentation strongly supports your capacity and is highly defensible against any challenges." Valeria's eyes widened. "Who the hell is this?" Ms. Langford's voice stayed professional. "An independent estate litigator consulting privately. The evidence of neglect is compelling. I'd advise against pushing hearings." Thorne grabbed at the phone, but I pulled it back. "See? You're ramping up, but it's not working." Ellis frowned, packing his briefcase. "We can still file, question this litigator's bias." Valeria yelled. "This is war, Dad. We'll turn the tables, prove you're the manipulator." Thorne added, "Expect papers served tomorrow. Guardianship's coming, and we'll control it all." His wife sneered. "Yeah, no more games." They resisted hard, arguing more as they headed for the door. But I exposed one last email printout from Thorne demanding shares during my last hospital stay. "Like this? It's all in the packet." Valeria tore it up. "Doesn't matter, we'll win." They stormed out finally, vowing over their shoulders. "This isn't over. We'll contest everything," Ellis called back. "Hearing's on, Mr. Whitaker." Alone with Baxter, I emailed Hargrove the final updates, attaching duplicates of the video and dossier. "Everything's ready. Store it secure," he replied. "Done." Highly defensible setup. I leaned down to pet Baxter, whispering, "They sense something's off, boy, but the truth's locked in. It'll all explode at the will reading." The pressure had peaked, their threats hanging heavy, but I held firm, knowing my plan would proceed unchallenged until then. I lingered in the shadows of Mr. Hargrove's law office, that familiar dark wood-paneled conference room with the long table gleaming under the overhead. Lights watching my family file in with combative glares and whispered plans, their attitudes a mix of entitlement and rage from our last bitter encounters. Valeria strode in first with her husband at her side, her designer suit crisp as she claimed a seat and leaned toward him, muttering about finally ending this farce. Thorne followed close behind, his wife clutching his arm tightly, his face set in that determined scowl as he nodded to Ellis, their shady lawyer, who sat up at the end with a stack of contest filings ready in his briefcase. The relatives, cousins, uncles, aunts trickled in after, some exchanging uneasy glances about the rumors of my instability that Valeria and Thorne had peddled, others sitting silently, like they were waiting for the explosion. Ellis cleared his throat loudly as everyone settled. "We're here to contest on grounds of incapacity and undue influence," he declared, tapping his papers. "The will's flawed. Mr. Whitaker wasn't in his right mind." Valeria crossed her arms. "Damn right." After his stunts with those hints and evidence? File it today, Ellis, Thorne added. The 50 million's ours, the mansion, stocks, Whitaker Enterprises. Let's hear it and challenge. Hargrove sat at the head, his expression steady as he picked up the document and adjusted his glasses, the room falling into a tense hush. As a reminder, he began, his voice clear and unhurried, the last will and testament of Harlan Whitaker bequeaths the entirety of his estate, valued at approximately $50 million, including the family mansion, all stocks and investments, and controlling shares in Whitaker Enterprises, to his dog, Baxter, through a pet trust managed by the Loyal Companions Animal Organization as trustee. The outrage ignited immediately, Valeria slamming her hand on the table. To the dog? This joke again? We're contesting, Ellis. Start the process now. Thorne stood up, his chair scraping back. Undue influence from that charity. He was manipulated. File the incapacity claim. His wife nodded vigorously. Yeah, after years of his isolation, he owed us the fortune. A cousin piped up hesitantly. But the details he shared at dinner, an uncle muttered, those rumors about his mind, maybe there's more. Ellis raised his filings. We're ready. Health records and witnesses will prove he wasn't competent. Hargrove held up a hand, his tone firm but even. Before any formal steps, there's a video message from Mr. Whitaker explaining his intentions. Valeria rolled her eyes. A video? More nonsense. Play it so we can debunk it. Thorne sneered. Yeah, it'll just show his delusions. Hargrove clicked play on the laptop, and my image appeared on the screen, my voice filling the room from those final days. You've neglected me for years, Valeria and Thorne, only showing up for loans while ignoring my hospital stays, I said on video, my eyes steady. Your greed tore us apart, spreading rumors about my mind to grab the 50 million. I paused briefly. Baxter was my only loyal companion, always there without demands. Then, that's why everything goes to him via the pet trust. Justice for your betrayal and ingratitude. The video ended, and the room boiled over, Thorne yelling first. Loyalty to a dog? That's proof he's crazy. Contest it, Ellis. We'll appeal if needed. Valeria pointed at the screen. Neglect? We were busy with our lives. He was the hoarder. File now. Ellis nodded, but Hargrove interjected smoothly. The will is supported by capacity affidavits from Mr. Whitaker's doctors and witnesses, attesting to his soundness of mind throughout the revisions and execution. He slid copies across the table. Additionally, the evidence packet, texts, and emails demanding money during his health scares, recorded calls with guilt trips, bank statements of unpaid loans, security footage of your brief dismissive visits, and the nurse's sworn affidavit confirming your absences, directly counters claims of incapacity or undue influence. Valeria snatched a copy, her face flushing. This packet, we'll say it's fabricated, proceed with the contest. Thorne agreed. Do it, Ellis. The odds are with us. A relative, the cousin, shifted uncomfortably. That video hit hard, the greed he mentioned. The uncle whispered to another. If the affidavits hold, Hargrove continued. You have the right to contest, but it will lead to expensive litigation. And if you proceed with a formal contest, you'll trigger the no contest clause, forfeiting the token bequests of $10,000 each to Valeria and Thorne. Valeria laughed sharply. 10,000? Worthless, we're filing anyway. Ellis confirmed the contest. Thus, Thorne pounded the table again. Yes, appeal all the way if we have to. Ellis scanned the affidavits and packet summaries Hargrove provided, his confidence visibly waning as he flipped through pages. With these capacity affidavits, the chain of custody on the video, and Ms. Langford's independent review as defense consultant affirming the will's strong defensibility. The odds are poor. Litigation fees could be brutal, and success is unlikely. Thorne turned on him, red-faced. Poor odds. You promised a win. His wife pulled at his sleeve. Public scandal if we push and lose, everyone knowing we fought a dog for money. Valeria's husband tried to steady her as she paced. We can still review options, right? Ellis nodded hesitantly. We'll review our options, but I advise caution. Appeals rarely overturn with this much backing. The relatives murmured louder now, the cousin saying, the video and evidence. Harlan had reasons. I'm not supporting a contest. The uncle agreed. Me neither looks like a lost cause. Valeria whirled on them. You traitors! This was family money. The humiliation spread like wildfire, Valeria's face crumbling into angry defeat as relatives averted their eyes, some standing to leave with awkward nods. Sorry, but the neglect in that video, it's embarrassing, one aunt said quietly. Thorne slumped back, isolated now, his wife whispering, We can rebuild, but without the fortune? Ellis packed his briefcase. I'll draft a review memo, but pushing further risks everything. Hargrove stacked his documents. The pet trust activates immediately. Baxter will reside in the mansion for his lifetime, cared for by professional handlers funded by the trust. Whitaker Enterprises and stocks will be professionally managed or partially liquidated as needed to support it, with the remainder going to animal shelters after his passing. Valeria stormed toward the door, her husband following. This isn't the end. We'll find a loophole. Thorne trailed them, defeated. Damn it, humiliated by a will. Ellis lingered a moment. Clients, let's discuss settlement options outside. Oh? As they exited in a rage, still muttering about reviews and appeals. The relatives dispersed quietly, leaving Hargrove alone to close the file. From my ghostly vantage, a profound peace enveloped me, knowing justice had unfolded without a single loose end. My legacy preserved through the trust that honored unwavering loyalty over greedy blood ties. The impending press scandal would tarnish Valeria and Thorne's names further, whispers of their neglect spreading as they faced potential creditor claims from the estate, pursuing those unpaid loans, their lives collapsing into struggles without my wealth. Boutiques folding, investments drying up, marriages tested. Yet perhaps in time they'd learn the harsh lesson, rebuilding with humility. Baxter, my faithful boy, would live in comfort, a living testament that true family is defined by love and loyalty, not blood or money. Sometimes what we need isn't advice, but someone to stand by us and say, that's enough. If this story brings you even a little relief, drop a comment down below, telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Right? Now, I read every line, and I make these videos to remind you, you are not alone. On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect,